episode of Motive Garage presented by Sparesbox, we start our road to World Time Attack Challenge with JET200. Let's go. So if you watched our series of Road to World Time Attack 2023, you'll know that we ended up with a 1 minute 29.9 at the very end in the shootout, which is way quicker than we thought we'd ever go. I joked at the time if it ran a 29, I'd retire the car because I never thought it would run that time. John Boston's feedback was the car is actually capable of going even quicker than that the way it was, which basically meant that myself and the entire team wanted to get the band back together and go again. Now the big question with cars like this is, how many more mods do you do to the car? Or even a better question is, how much money do you spend? We've decided we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to have a few little tweaks to every area of the car. We tweak the suspension, we tweak the engine and the tune, we tweak the aero slightly, just every little aspect and even the brakes. So that is essentially our attitude with this car. We're not going to do any major changes, just tweak every little area. And the first thing that we're going to tweak is the aero. So we're off to Sydney Composites to see what we're going to change. Let's go.
God bless, we're breaking these runs. Life too short to play it on speed run. Only get one, no option to rerun. With Babylon goes too high to reach them. Down to earth, stay grinding when storms come. Rat race, only one to run from. Better say cheese, but say split into funds.
Basically started in composites through building yachts. So we used to build Sydney to Hobart yachts for a company, and then got into the race cars and started building some in the garage at home. So, pushed Dad to let me, throw some resin around and some carbon here and there, and then learned the ways with the cars. And then in 2017, we opened up the shop. The first step was, just understanding what the parts do and understanding what the clients wanted. Everyone wants more downforce to go faster. We basically get into touch with aerodynamicists who design the parts. We then take on the manufacturing of the products, where we can use CNC machines to CNC route our molds or patterns to produce very accurate parts. The range is very broad. We've got our top end clients who we can, introduce into the custom world. We can sit down and get a full entire car designed from the ground up for bodywork, for aerodynamic components, and then we can go and manufacture it from the get-go. But then for people in time attack, going into the classes where they've got a already modified car and they want to go faster, we do have off-the-shelf items that can get them there on a cost-effective sort of route. But then now we're starting to introduce a lot of the budget entry-level aerodynamic components and bolt-on components, you would say. The DIY person who doesn't have a big budget would basically be able to come purchase a set of tunnels to put it in and integrate it into their plywood splitter or aluminium splitter. The front of the car is what sees the air first, followed through to the rear of the car. So a front splitter, a rear diffuser and a wing is kind of like your go-tos for, bolt-on aerodynamic components, because the limitations of the class also have, certain aspects of what you can and can't do. So we've made it a system that is simple for people to basically drive in. Car gets set up on a flat patch like the one behind me, and then we can install these components that are off the shelf but slightly retrofitted to the car and customised to each individual car. So you still get a personal touch, but a universal design. A sub 30 is definitely one to brag about. So congratulations to you and the team. The first products we brought out, as we mentioned, was a splitter. A lot of people have gone, sometimes a bit high priced, untouchable. So we've gone, well, the fundamentals of a splitter working is it's a plank, with tunnels put on it to create a low pressure system, which creates the downforce. So we've harnessed that understanding and idea to then bring it to your car, which has a aluminium front under tray, and we've put the tunnels in, which is basically then turns your front aluminium splitter into almost equivalent to the bigger ones. To see the changes in your car at time attack, to run then the sub 30 is a massive achievement for a set of bolt-in tunnels. The bolt-on route and the simplified understanding what works and what doesn't is what people need to kind of focus on. I know Andrew personally, we're actually good mates. We've done a lot of builds through him as well. We've built his custom designed Aero. It's all a black art with how it all works. This is what we're trying to now slowly introduce to help people develop their car further. So here's our new latest product. It's a dual plane canard. So it's quite large, as you can see. Dual plane, so it's got a split like a dual element wing. This has been developed to enhance front end grip. So a lot of people are struggling to get front grip and downforce due to splitter limitations and things like that. So we've worked out a way to bring an advanced technology through canard system to basically bolt onto the car to give you some very fast, very high front grip. It's been uniquely designed to keep the air flowing attached, similar to a dual element wing. And then the large surface area also then enhances what's underneath the canard. So the canard basically, when it gets bolted onto the car, it's not just the canard making the downforce, it's actually improving the performance of the whole entire front aero. The canards will come oversized, so the part where that's needed to be trimmed is the components that are closest to the bumper bar. Now, there's going to be a polystyrene block that has the shape of the bottom of the canard. So you sit it on it and then you work out an offset measurement, draw a line, cut, and it should slide in and meet up perfectly to your bar. The hardware is quite simple. We're going to have carbon fiber angles and aluminium angles to then link the canard to the bar. Because it's got such a large overhang, we're going to be supplying also a stay, which will basically link to your splitter, which will then support the outside weight. This is going to be going on to JET, so it's going to be quite a large improvement to front aero, we're hoping. I think John Boston behind the wheel is going to come out with a big smile on his face after the first time he takes it out. This is going to give the front a lot more improvement. It's going to work very well with the tunnels that are already on the car. And then, you can possibly put more rear wing into it. So that means the overall car downforce increases dramatically, not just the front. Let's see if John can put it together.
So we've got a little bit of new aero to put on the car, but we need to get it fitted. And the man that fits the aero parts to our cars, in fact, the man that's responsible for pretty much the entire build of this car back in 2014 is Chris Spicer from CS Engineering. In fact, he's been involved with the car as far back as when we started Motive DVD in 2009. Chris has done all the roll cage work, all the chassis work, the wide body, and we worked on it together back in 2014 for version 4 for months on end until 2 in the morning. So if you're interested, you can go back and watch that entire series and see how much work he put into that car. So we're sending the car to him next. He's going to fix that crack in the header tank so he can finally drive the car again. He's also going to pull some suspension apart because we know that some of the urethane bushes have essentially been, well, destroyed. So he needs to replace some of the urethane with spherical bearings, put some new arms in. He's going to make some slight changes to suspension geometry. He's also going to rebuild the front splitter and fit up the front canard. So it's off to CS Engineering.
We've been going maybe 14 years now with the fab side of things. It's kind of escalated a little bit now, but still now the car's still pretty much a standard kind of S chassis still. Like the actual chassis of the car is pretty standard, even though it looks a little bit crazy. It's definitely not in the kind of league that, most of the cars in our class are. We had Andrew Brilliant come over. He was very helpful with the aero. The car probably wouldn't have all the aero that it does now if it didn't, but he was telling us what we needed to do, but we don't have composite. I'm a fabricator. I can form stuff out of aluminium, steel, so that was what we did. And Andrew Brilliant helped me with the splitter a little bit, and then it turned into let's do this and let's do that, and then ended up like 3 weeks worth of fab work. Since then we haven't really touched much on the car. We're just kind of doing stuff that's not like fixing stuff that failed in the past, and then learning from what we break and then making it kind of more reliable. In our fashion, we usually leave everything till last minute. All of us are busy and have stuff going on as well, so we can only put as much time into the cars we can physically afford, and we're all time poor, everybody's time poor. 2022 was pretty bad with the car. Like, we had a lot of fail. We got to a point where we had a bit of time off, and then the car, we had time to actually do stuff on the car, and then everything like just fell into place. Like, we ended up dry sump. I was so happy the day we stripped all the harness out of the car. We just chopped it out and threw it in the bin. That was pretty much like the best part of the last build, the last freshen up. Rowan's wiring's made a big difference. For most of the year, all of us have our own shops. It's not like other teams where the car sits and gets worked on all year. We don't have multiple track days throughout the year. It's kind of like once a year we all get together and then work around each other to do like a month or so worth of work on the car, but it goes from one shop for a week and then goes to the next shop for a week and then the next shop, and then the little bit that we can give, we all try and put 100% in when it comes World Time Attack. The 29 was a big jump, like for us. When we went to 129, I think that whole year, because we jumped so fast and by so many seconds, it was just a bit surreal. Yeah, everybody was excited. I was more happy for Bozo too. Like, Bozo had no idea what was going on. He didn't think it felt fast or anything like that. But I think everything was just aligned that year and everything went smooth, and we were able to do so many laps that were available for us to do in our sessions that we got quicker by doing that, where I think that's the most time we've ever been on the track, the last World Time Attack. We disassembled the bottom of the splitter. We didn't damage the splitter last year, we just scuffed the bottom of it. But yeah, otherwise to that, didn't damage anything. I reskinned the bottom of the splitter, refit all the carbon ducts back in the bottom, and then while we're doing that, we got some carbon canards for the side of it. Sydney Composites gave us some canards to fit up to the car. The canards were pretty easy actually. The guys from Sydney Composites, they gave me a piece of foam that looks like it's been like wire cut or something, like CNC'd. You put the foam on top of the splitter and then basically sit the canard on and then just bring the canard across and trim it into the bar. Very, very simple, easy to do. We reached out and ordered some GK Tech spherical solid bushes. The rear knuckles are a little tiny bit different to the old ones we had, with the way the geometry is and the camber and the toe curves are better than factory. Being a solid spherical bush will definitely improve the car. We'll put a base setting of what we know the car likes, and that'll be just a base setting. I think now that the car has very little things that we can improve on elsewhere, that we're targeting the little things now. So our next track day, we're going to have everyone there. We've got Redsun, we're going to have Matty and Rowan, Chris Shockworks, his team. The goal is always to go quicker. If the average is every year 2 seconds so far, like, it's just, the faster you get though, the more you have to have in it to make it run that quicker. It's like drag racing. To go a couple of tenths once you get over a certain mark, or to go a tenth after a certain mark, it might be a difference between that and 500 horsepower. The jumps get more marginal as the faster the car goes. I think last year we did so well because the whole car was balanced. We had enough power for the amount of aero, for the amount of everything that we had in the car. I think it was just a balance.
Well, as usual, things snowballed while it was with Chris at CS Engineering. We ended up with more of the GK Tech catalogue and a few more tweaks to the suspension and chassis. But overall, pretty excited about the changes we've made, and it will improve the handling and will improve the braking, and obviously the aero upgrade as well. So the next thing to tackle is engine and tuning. So we're going to take the car back to Redsun. We're going to look for that little weird misfire that it had last year that kind of sounded like traction control. It's a bit of a hesitation as the VVL came on and it came on to boost. So we're going to get it on the dyno, do a health check, and also see if we can sort that issue as well. So off to Redsun Motorsport. Let's go. What do you think?
Oh, always good. It's always fun.
It's a pretty wild package. When you think about it, it's a 2.2 litre with a stock block with a wedge in it and billet main caps. The V head is what, a tidy up, not even a real port?
No, it's nothing, not tidy, it's tie up only.
That's it. It's just got, I guess,
valves.
a drop-in cam with a beehive valve springs, stock valves on it. So it's not a crazy head, but a G35-900 with this engine combination is obviously pretty impressive. We make 390 kilowatts on wastegate pressure, which does boost creep up to 22 PSI. The engine's so efficient.
Yeah.
But we use that boost creep to our advantage a little bit with the tune, and this is basically the high boost setting. This is 34 pound, makes 526 kilowatts, just under 710 wheel horsepower, but last year we ran 40 pound, but we do know that this boost level, it will do laps, but every pound after this is
head gasket material.
Is head gasket loss.
No sleeve, so the block still twists. Like,
that's right.
the bores, it lifts, it's going to happen,
So we're going to leave it on this power level, but when we get to the point where John says, like the car's ready for like kill mode will add about another 50 kilowatts to that on 40
we did
pounds,
roughly
so
30, 40 laps of this power last
that's right.
anyway, so we know it's reliable on this one.
Yeah.
And 40 pounds is, we know, is the kill mode, and can just do a gasket if it needs.
We have a spare head gasket ready for World Time Attack for Friday night. So
right.
You'll find it'll go straight to this power level straight away. There's no point mucking around.
John did that last year. He went one on the gate pressure. I said, nah, just
don't bother.
Give it to me on this, and we'll just work all day on that because you find all the kinks in the
medium
car.
boost is probably for me, really.
Yeah, if you're too scared for this one.
480 kilowatts is fine for me, like 650 wheels. So
that's right.
Yeah, 710 wheel horsepower. Essentially is. Don't get me wrong, it's a pretty super impressive, I guess, overall engine bay and package, but the actual engine combination itself is actually really basic. Like, this could be a street car package.
Yeah, that's right. It's very similar to street car packages we've done. Nothing's changed, actually. So
let's go Club Sprint, let's go. Now, everyone watching last year said they heard a misfire or what sounded like traction control or whatever, but we were looking for essentially like a hesitation that the car had that it wasn't in the logs last year at all, right?
I couldn't find it in the logs. It still would never show. It had been a precondition on the exact 30% throttle for VVL was turning itself on and on, where John was holding about 5,000, 29 to 30. The TPS needed some filtering. It was moving 5 to 10%. I was turning the VVL on and off, but it would not show at all in the logs.
So for those that don't know, VEs have a lot of vibration, and what was happening was that even if the TPS, if your foot didn't move, it would read between sort of what, 28 and 35%. It would move.
On the dyno today, that's what I was roughly doing. 30% throttle, it was turning VVL on and off. Is another precondition. So that was our stutter we had last.
So it wasn't a misfire. It was actually the VVL turning on and off. So we've essentially gotten rid of the 30% throttle position required.
So it's gone. So the condition's gone,
got a filter onto the TPS because of the vibration in the VE, and now that should be gone. So John reckons that if we got rid of that misfire, the car would have already been faster. Add everything else we've done to it, and a few little revisions in every area, and we should be every area in the car, braking, suspension, aero, tuning, have all been just finessed that little bit.
Finessed, and we should be faster, or at least consistently the same time as last year. That's the hope.
No faster, bro. Well, I have to admit, it was a lot less work to get the car ready for World Time Attack this year than what there was last year, but we didn't have a complete rebuild this year. Pretty happy the car made the same power it did a year earlier, so it hasn't lost any power. Engine's healthy, sounds strong, because SR20VET is God's motor. Now it's time to test the car, and that's what's coming up in our next episode. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned, and we'll see how it goes on a shakedown.